Ladies and gentlemen, clarity is not just a nice-to have. It is the foundation of every breakthrough, every transformation, every extraordinary life you've ever admired. Most people are not living unfocused lives because they lack intelligence or talent. They're living unfocused lives because they have no clearly defined target. They wake up every morning and step into the day like they're wandering through fog, reacting to whatever shows up, instead of creating what they truly desire. Without clarity, focus is impossible, and without focus, life becomes a random series of events rather than a masterpiece you consciously design. Think about it. The human brain is a goal-seeking mechanism. It's wired to filter the endless flood of information coming at us every second through a simple question: does this matter to me? If you don't decide in advance what matters, the world will decide for you. And let's be honest, the world is not necessarily interested in your growth, your purpose, or your dreams. It's interested in your attention, your clicks, your consumption. That's why so many people are exhausted yet unfulfilled. They're spending their mental energy chasing things that have nothing to do with their deeper vision. Clarity means stepping back and daring to ask yourself the hard questions most people avoid. What do I truly want? What would a deeply meaningful life look like for me? What kind of person do I need to become to create that? These are not casual questions you answer in passing. These are questions you sit with, you wrestle with them. You strip away the expectations of society, family, and friends, and you listen to the voice beneath the noise, your own voice. When you have clarity, focus becomes natural. You stop chasing every shiny object because you can instantly recognize whether something moves you toward your vision or away from it. You stop living in a reactive state and start living in a creative state. This is where discipline shifts from feeling like a restriction to becoming a liberation, because you're no longer fighting distractions. You're simply aligning your energy with what matters most. Clarity also creates emotional fuel. When you can see your vision vividly in your mind, not as a vague idea, but as a living, breathing reality, it ignites a sense of purpose that makes discipline feel less like willpower and more like inevitability. You're not forcing yourself to act. You're pulled forward by something larger than yourself. That's why world-class performers, entrepreneurs, and leaders aren't necessarily more disciplined than everyone else. They're just more clear. But here's the challenge. Clarity doesn't come from thinking about it once. It's a discipline in itself. Life will constantly try to blur your vision with doubt, fear, and distraction. That's why you must revisit your clarity daily through journaling, visualization, or simply quiet reflection. The clearer you stay, the easier it becomes to filter out the irrelevant and stay locked in on the essential. I'll tell you something I've learned after working with countless high achievers. Clarity is not a one-time event. It's a way of living. It's the commitment to keep refining your vision as you grow. Because as you evolve, what matters will evolve too. And if you're not willing to keep redefining it, you risk climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall. So ask yourself right here, right now, do you know what you truly want? And if your answer is vague, don't wait for the perfect moment to figure it out. The perfect moment is this one. Because until you know what matters, you'll never be able to discipline your focus. And until you discipline your focus, you'll never elevate your life. Clarity is power, but only if you claim it. Ladies and gentlemen, your mind is the control center of your entire life. Every choice you make, every action you take, every result you experience flows from the state of your mind. And yet, most people treat their mental space like an open public park anyone can walk in, plant seeds, leave trash, and reshape the landscape. If you want to live with power, if you want to channel your focus towards something extraordinary, you have to guard your mental space like a fortress. Here's the truth. Focus is not just about what you pay attention to. It's about what you refuse to give attention to. Every distraction you allow, a toxic conversation, a meaningless argument online, an endless scroll through content that doesn't serve you, is not neutral. It's an energy leak, and the human brain, with all its brilliance, has limited bandwidth. Once you give that bandwidth away to low-value inputs, you have less left to invest in the things that could actually change your life. We live in the noisiest era in human history. Never before have we been bombarded with so much information, so many opinions, so many false urgencies. Every app, every headline, every notification is designed to hijack your attention because attention is currency in the modern world. If you don't defend it, you will lose it, and when you lose it, you lose control over your direction. That's why so many people feel burned out without ever having done the work that matters most to them. Guarding your mental space requires both awareness and discipline. Awareness means you become conscious of what's entering your mind on a daily basis, the conversations you entertain, the media you consume, the environments you choose to inhabit. Discipline means you have the courage to close the gates. This might mean unfollowing people who constantly stir negativity, turning off notifications that pull you into distraction, or setting boundaries with those who drain your energy. And yes, it might upset some people, but your peace, your focus, your life's mission, they're worth far more than someone else's temporary approval. Philosophically, think of your mind like fertile soil. Whatever gets planted will grow, whether it's weeds or fruit-bearing trees. If you don't actively protect it, the weeds of doubt, fear, and triviality will take over. But if you choose with intention what seeds to allow in ideas that inspire, conversations that challenge you to grow, information that sharpens your skills, you create a mental environment where greatness can take root. It's also important to remember that guarding your mental space isn't just about avoiding negativity, it's about amplifying positivity and intentional input. Read books that feed your vision. Surround yourself with people who challenge your complacency and hold you to a higher standard. Create moments of silence and solitude where your own thoughts can breathe, because if you don't make space for your own mind to speak, the world will speak for you, and it will often lead you astray. This level of discipline will not happen by accident. It's a conscious practice, a daily commitment, and at first, it will feel uncomfortable. You'll notice the pull to check your phone, to join a pointless debate, to give your energy to things that don't matter. But as you strengthen this muscle, you'll discover a profound truth. When you control what gets into your mind, you control the quality of your life. You move from being a passive consumer of the world's noise to an active creator of your own reality. So I ask you, how strong are the gates to your mind right now? Are they wide open for anyone or anything to enter? Or are they guarded with the vigilance of someone who knows their life's mission is too important to leave unprotected? Guard your mental space like your life depends on it, because in every way that matters, it does. Ladies and gentlemen, focus without action is just a beautiful theory. You can have the clearest vision in the world, you can protect your mental space from every distraction, but if you don't take intentional, decisive action toward that vision, it remains nothing more than a dream floating in your imagination. The gap between knowing and living is bridged by action, not random, scattered movement, but deliberate steps aligned with your highest priorities. The truth is, most people are not inactive because they're lazy, they're inactive because they're busy with the wrong things. They mistake motion for progress. They fill their days with tasks that are urgent but meaningless, because urgent feels important in the moment. They check emails, run errands, handle small crises, and at the end of the day, they feel exhausted, yet nothing truly significant has moved forward. This is what happens when you fail to master intentional action. Intentional action means asking yourself before you invest your time and energy, does this directly move me toward my most important outcomes? Is this the highest use of my focus right now? That level of self-questioning is uncomfortable because it forces you to confront just how much of your activity is habit, distraction, or avoidance. But that discomfort is where growth begins. From a psychological standpoint, intentional action requires two things: clarity of outcome and commitment to discipline. Clarity of outcome means you know exactly what the end result looks like. You can describe it in detail, not just vaguely wish for it. Commitment to discipline means you follow through even when the initial excitement fades, even when the mood to act isn't there. That's where greatness separates itself from mediocrity. Anyone can act when it feels good. Masters act because they've decided to. Philosophically, this is about shifting from a life of reaction to a life of creation. Most people are reacting to life, reacting to bills, to demands, to other people's priorities. Intentional action flips the script. You become the architect of your days. You decide what matters and you build your schedule, your habits, your environment to make those actions inevitable. This is why discipline is freedom, because the more intentional your actions become, the less you're at the mercy of chaos. Another truth about intentional action is that it compounds. One focused, meaningful action taken every day doesn't just add up, it multiplies. The results stack over time, creating momentum. And momentum is one of the most powerful forces in human performance once it's rolling. It takes less effort to keep going and more effort to stop. That's why you don't need to take giant leaps every single day. You just need to take the right steps consistently. But here's the danger. Intentional action will always be under attack from the trivial, the urgent, and the comfortable. The trivial will tempt you with easy wins that mean nothing. The urgent will scream for your attention, convincing you it's important, and the comfortable will whisper to you to stay where you are because change feels risky. If you're not vigilant, these three forces will quietly rob you of your destiny. So you must decide, every day in every moment, am I acting with intention toward the life I want, or am I surrendering my focus to whatever demands my attention in the moment? That question, asked consistently, has the power to realign your life. Your focus is your power, but focus without intentional action is like a loaded bow without the release. Pull it back, aim it at what matters most, and let it fly. Ladies and gentlemen, discipline is not something you switch on when you feel like it. It's not a mood, it's not a burst of motivation you ride for a few days, and it's not something reserved for special people. Discipline is built, brick by brick, through the rituals you practice every single day. Your habits are not just things you do, they are the invisible architecture of your future. And when you structure your life with rituals that reinforce your focus, you eliminate the need to rely on willpower alone. Willpower is like a battery, it drains as you use it. That's why people start their day with great intentions, but by the afternoon, they've given in to distraction, procrastination, or bad choices. Rituals solve that problem. They automate your discipline. They take the most important actions you need to perform and embed them into your daily rhythm, so you no longer have to negotiate with yourself about whether or not you'll do them, you just do. Think of it this way. Rituals are to discipline what rails are to a train. Without rails, the train may have all the power in the world, but it will drift aimlessly or crash. With rails, it can channel that power in one clear direction over and over until it reaches its destination. The most successful people don't wake up every day relying on bursts of inspiration. They've built rails for their focus. Psychologically, rituals create stability in an unstable world. Life will always throw unpredictability at you, unexpected events, shifting priorities, emotional ups and downs. But when you have daily rituals, you have anchors that hold you steady. That morning routine that sets your intention for the day. That midday reset that keeps you from spiraling into mental fatigue. That evening reflection that ensures you're not just living the same day over and over without growth. These small, repetitive acts compound into enormous results because they consistently keep you aligned with your vision. Philosophically, rituals also train your identity. Every time you follow through on a disciplined habit, you are casting a vote for the person you are becoming. You're reinforcing a story in your subconscious. I am someone who follows through. I am someone who values my time. I am someone who is committed to my vision. Over time, this identity becomes self-fulfilling. You stop trying to be disciplined. You simply are disciplined because it's now a natural extension of who you are. But here's the trap. Many people try to overhaul their entire life overnight. They design an elaborate set of rituals so demanding that they collapse under the weight of them within a week. Discipline is built progressively. Start with 1 or 2 simple, high-leverage rituals and master them. Once they are effortless, layer in more. It's the slow layering of habits done with intention that creates lasting transformation. And let's be clear, rituals are not about rigidity, they are about alignment. A ritual should serve your vision, not become a prison. If life throws something at you that requires flexibility, adapt. The point is not to chain yourself to a schedule. The point is to create an environment where success is the default. If you look at the great athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, and leaders of history, you'll find their days are structured around rituals. Not because they had to, but because they understood that greatness is not a single act, it's a pattern. And patterns are built one ritual at a time, so I leave you with this: don't wait for discipline to magically appear. Build it into your life so deeply that it becomes who you are, because when discipline becomes ritual, focus becomes effortless. And when focus becomes effortless, elevation is inevitable. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest skills you can ever develop in life is the power to say no. At first, it sounds simple, but in reality, it's one of the hardest disciplines to master. Why? Because saying no often comes with discomfort. It can feel like you're letting people down, missing out, or closing a door on an opportunity. But here's the truth: every yes you give to something trivial is a silent no to something vital. And over time, those small, unnoticed decisions are what shape the trajectory of your entire life. Focus is not just about choosing what to do, it's about having the courage to reject what doesn't align with your vision. That means understanding a core truth. You cannot be everything to everyone, and you cannot do everything at once. Every human being has limited energy, attention, and time. If you're not fiercely protecting where those resources go, they will get consumed by other people's priorities, agendas, and emergencies. You'll be left wondering why you're so busy yet so unfulfilled. Psychologically, this is about boundaries. Boundaries are not walls that shut life out. They are gates that you control. They determine what gets access to your focus and what doesn't. When you fail to set boundaries, you send a signal to yourself and to the world that anything can demand your attention. And if anything can demand your attention, nothing truly important gets the best of you. Saying no isn't just a rejection, it's a declaration. It's declaring that your mission matters enough to protect it. It's declaring that your time is precious, your focus is sacred, and your energy is not up for auction. And here's the beautiful paradox: the more you say no to the wrong things, the more space you create for the right things to enter your life. Opportunities of real value often can't find you because your schedule, your mind, and your energy are already overcommitted to distractions. Philosophically, the ability to say no is a sign of self-respect. It means you've defined your values and your direction clearly enough that you will not be swayed by temporary temptation or social pressure. It's easy to say yes in the moment. Yes feels agreeable. Yes avoids conflict. Yes gets you approval. But in the long run, too many yeses leave you living a life built on other people's priorities rather than your own. The most successful people are not the ones who say yes the most. They're the ones who say yes the least, but to the most important things. They treat every yes like a sacred contract, understanding that it will require their time, energy, and focus. They ask themselves, does this decision move me closer to my ultimate vision, or is it a detour? If the answer isn't a clear yes, it's a no. Of course, this discipline requires courage. Saying no might mean some people won't understand you. It might mean you have to stand your ground when it's uncomfortable. But remember, you are not here to be universally liked. You are here to live your purpose. And if living your purpose means disappointing someone else, that's a trade worth making every time. So I want you to think about it. Where in your life have you been saying yes out of habit, guilt, or fear of missing out? What would happen if you reclaimed those yeses and redirected them toward your most important goals? Say no to what drains you so you can say yes to what transforms you. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a direct link between the standards you set for yourself and the quality of life you live. Most people don't struggle because they lack potential. They struggle because their standards are too low. They tolerate mediocrity in their habits, in their focus, in their relationships, and then they wonder why life feels average. The truth is, you will never rise higher than the expectations you set for yourself. If you want to elevate your life, you have to elevate your standards first. Your standards are not what you wish you would do. They are what you consistently accept for yourself. They're the invisible line in the sand that determines what you will and will not allow in your life. And here's the thing: you don't get what you want, you get what you tolerate. If you tolerate procrastination, you will get it. If you tolerate distractions, you will live with them. If you tolerate excuses, you will feed them every day until they own you. But if you raise that line, if you decide that only excellence, only discipline, only intentional living will do, everything in your life begins to shift to meet that standard. Psychologically, standards shape your identity. When you demand more from yourself, you start to see yourself differently. You no longer view discipline as a burden, but as the natural way you operate. And when your identity changes, your behavior follows automatically. You no longer have to force yourself to avoid distractions. You're simply the kind of person who doesn't allow them. You no longer battle with whether you should take action. You're simply the kind of person who takes action without delay. This is why raising your standards is so powerful. It rewires your self-concept. Philosophically, raising your standards is about refusing to live on autopilot. It's about rejecting the comfort zone that seduces most people into settling for less than they're capable of. Comfort is addictive because it asks nothing of you, but it also gives you nothing in return. Growth, on the other hand, is demanding. It will require more of your time, more of your energy, more of your courage. And yet, that's exactly where fulfillment lives, in the space where you challenge yourself to be more than you were yesterday. When you elevate your standards, you naturally elevate the quality of your focus. You become less willing to waste time because you recognize its value. You become less interested in gossip, in meaningless entertainment, in trivial battles, because they don't meet the standard of the life you're building. Instead, your energy flows toward growth, contribution, and mastery. But raising your standards is not a one-time event. It's a continual process. As you grow, you will hit ceilings that once felt impossible to reach. And when you get there, you'll be faced with a choice: do I settle here, or do I raise the bar again? This is how you keep evolving instead of plateauing. The people who achieve extraordinary lives aren't necessarily more talented than everyone else. They simply never stop raising their standards. So let me ask you, what have you been tolerating in your life that you know is beneath you? Where have you been playing small, settling for good enough, when you're capable of great? The moment you answer those questions with honesty and take action to raise your standards, everything changes. Because here's the reality: your focus will follow your standards, and your life will follow your focus. Raise one, and you automatically raise the other. Stop negotiating with mediocrity. Elevate your standards, and life will rise to meet you.